Welcome to Rays of Hope, where inspiration meets possibilities. Join us on this journey as we explore videos that illuminate the path to positivity, resilience, and success. The role of self-criticism in perfectionism. Why do we often feel like we're never enough? Self-criticism and perfectionism go hand in hand, creating a cycle that's hard to break. Many people struggle with this, trying to meet their own impossibly high standards. Understanding how self-criticism fuels perfectionism is key to improving mental health and personal growth. By recognizing this connection, we can start to break down the barriers that prevent us from feeling satisfied with our achievements. Stay tuned to learn why self-criticism happens, how it impacts us, and what steps we can take to manage it better. Understanding self-criticism. Self-criticism is more than just the occasional negative thought. It's a deeply ingrained pattern of harshness towards oneself. Let's dig deeper into what self-criticism really means and the psychology behind it. Definition and characteristics. Self-criticism involves a negative inner dialogue and setting extremely high standards for oneself. It can feel like there's a relentless critic inside your head, always pointing out your flaws. This pattern usually includes harsh inner dialogue, unrealistic standards, focus on flaws, and comparison to others. These traits can create a vicious cycle, where the more you criticize yourself, the more you feel like you're not good enough. Psychological basis of self-criticism. The roots of self-criticism can be found in several psychological theories. Understanding these can help us see why we might be so hard on ourselves. Cognitive behavioral perspective. This theory posits that self-criticism develops through negative thought patterns. If you constantly tell yourself you're not good enough, you start to believe it. These thoughts can become automatic, happening without you even realizing it. Attachment theory. Early relationships with caregivers can shape how we view ourselves. If you experienced criticism or lack of support as a child, you might develop a critical inner voice. It's like having a parent inside your head always pointing out your shortcomings. Social comparison theory. We often compare ourselves to others as a way to gauge our own worth. In today's age of social media, this comparison can become unhealthy. Seeing others' highlight reels can make us feel like we're falling short, even if we're doing well. By understanding these psychological mechanisms, we can start to see self-criticism not as a truth about ourselves, but as a pattern that can be changed. In summary, self-criticism is a complex and deeply rooted tendency. However, knowing its characteristics and psychological basis is the first step in addressing it. Stay with us as we explore how self-criticism ties into perfectionism and what steps can be taken to manage it better. The connection between self-criticism and perfectionism. Understanding how self-criticism fuels perfectionism is crucial in breaking the cycle that prevents many individuals from achieving true satisfaction. Let's explore the relationship between these two concepts. Perfectionism defined. Perfectionism is more than just wanting to do well. It involves setting unrealistically high standards and feeling that anything less than perfect is a failure. Key traits of perfectionism include fear of mistakes, high standards, all-or-nothing thinking, and focus on flaws. These traits can make life feel like a never-ending race to meet unachievable expectations. How self-criticism drives perfectionism. Self-criticism can act as the fuel that drives perfectionism. Here's how negative self-talk, fear of failure, low self-esteem, and overemphasis on results create an environment where perfectionism can flourish. The vicious cycle, self-criticism and perfectionism. Self-criticism and perfectionism feed off each other, creating a vicious cycle that's hard to break. Increased self-criticism, higher expectations, more pressure, and more self-criticism can lead to burnout and a constant feeling of inadequacy, making it crucial to address both self-criticism and perfectionism simultaneously. Understanding this connection is the first step in breaking free from the grip of perfectionism. By recognizing how self-criticism fuels perfectionist tendencies, you can start to make changes that foster a healthier, more balanced approach to life. Impact of self-criticism on mental health. Self-criticism can wreak havoc on your mental health. It doesn't just affect how you feel about yourself, it can impact every aspect of your life. Let's break down the key areas it affects. Anxiety and depression. Self-criticism is closely linked to anxiety and depression. When you're constantly hard on yourself, it can lead to feelings of intense stress and sadness. According to a study published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences, high levels of self-criticism are associated with an increased risk of anxiety disorders and depression. The relentless inner critic can make you feel worthless and hopeless. Imagine trying to run a race with a weight tied to your leg. That's what it feels like when self-criticism teams up with anxiety and depression. It drags you down, making even simple tasks seem overwhelming. Increased anxiety, constantly worrying about not meeting your own high standards, can cause chronic anxiety. Depressive symptoms, persistent negative thoughts about yourself, can lead to feelings of hopelessness and despair. Physical symptoms. Anxiety and depression manifest physically too, causing issues like insomnia, fatigue, and headaches. Being aware of these impacts is crucial. If you realize that self-criticism is feeding your anxiety and depression, you can take steps to address it. Self-esteem and self-worth. Self-criticism takes a heavy toll on your self-esteem and self-worth. When you constantly tell yourself that you're not good enough, you start to believe it. This can lead to a downward spiral where you feel less and less valuable over time. Think of self-esteem as a fragile plant. Self-criticism is like pouring poison on it. Over time, it wilts and withers. We hope you found this discussion on self-criticism and perfectionism insightful. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve deeper into the impact of self-criticism on mental health and share effective strategies to overcome it. Thank you for joining us on this uplifting journey with Rays of Hope. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe to stay tuned for more videos that spark hope and empowerment.